Right, good afternoon. Thank you very much for staying the course to this session of mine. So I run a group called the Caparo Innovation Centre at Wolverhampton University. Licensing. So what licensing means is that you are granting a license to somebody or some company to make, or maybe a license to sell, or maybe a license to make and sell. You're granting the right to make or sell your product. And to be able to do that, you have to have some protectable right that you are legally licensing. You know, you can't license thin air. There must be something which could be understood in a court of law to be a right that you're able to license. And what we're talking about here is intellectual property rights. So it's the whole gamut of patents, trademarks, copyrights, design rights, and going on a little bit further than that, rights in confidential information. So you could just about, well, if you were an absolute expert in something, you could license your know-how to some other organisation. They can be licensed, so you would have a license agreement under which you'd agreed terms that your licensee is going to pay to you for the right to your intellectual property. They can be sold outright, or the word that people use really is assigned. So for a fixed agreed sum, you could entirely sell or assign your intellectual property right to somebody else. And they can even be used as security for mortgages and bank loans and so on, as long as they can be put in an envelope and somebody feels as though they're worth something. You would want to think about what market sectors or territories you are licensing your rights to. Are you giving somebody the right to sell this thing just in the UK or other places as well? Between you, you have to negotiate and agree a royalty rate. Should it be a percentage on sales, or should it be 50 pence for every one that they sell? You've got to, between you, come to an agreement on that. And should there be an upfront payment? So just to make things a bit sort of better on your side, how about if they force you down and in the end they've got you down to a 1% royalty, well, you might agree with that so long as they were going to pay you £100,000 up front as well, perhaps. The trouble with an upfront payment is that when the business is taking on this project, when they're looking at it and they're thinking, we're going to have to spend £30,000 on tooling, we're going to have to spend £30,000 on marketing and promotion, manufacturing, all told. So all told, we're going to have to invest £100,000 in this project to start doing it. Okay, so £100,000, to justify making that investment, we've got to get a 20% return on blah, 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 blah. And they can make the financial case perhaps stack up and say, well, okay, yes, we'll do that. But if the inventor or whoever's giving them the license has said that there also has to be £100,000 up front, from the company's point of view, you're turning it from a project which is taking investment of £100,000 to a project that is taking investment of £200,000. And if it's got to pay back on the basis of £200,000, it's got to, you've immediately halved all the sort of returns and so on that the company thinks it's going to make, and you can very, very easily tip something over the edge from being a viable project to not a viable project. So that's one problem with the upfront payment. And the other is it'll just make the licensee nervous, in that if he thinks that actually you cannot lose and you're very keen to have an upfront payment, then he puts some doubt in his mind about whether the product is actually going to be as good as you believe it is. Much fairer for the licensor to be much more contingent on success. So a bigger royalty, or maybe stepped royalties, or heaven knows what, anything you like really, but which are all about rewarding if the thing is successful rather than upfront payments.